Okay. Sorry about that. So the title of this slide, or the session officially, was Porting: Apache Cordova, and we would much rather call it Assembling the Phonegap BlackBerry 10 Workshop. So substitute Cordova for BlackBerry, or for Phonegap, sorry. And workshop isn't in the conference terms of workshops. We mean it more in like a carpenter, craftsman's workshop. For us, that's our dev environment. So this talk is really focusing on setting up your dev environment to do Phonegap BlackBerry 10 work. And that's all we're doing, straight up. We're showing you everything. A lot of live coding in this talk. Just so you know, my name is Michael Brooks. I'm one of the original Phonegap developers, formerly worked at a company called Nitobi. We are now part of Adobe. Work full-time on Phonegap and Apache Cordova. This is Phil Mai. Phil Mai is a colleague of mine. Same story, same as mine. Works at Adobe, Apache Cordova, Phonegap every single day. And then Gord Tanner, previously Tiny Hippos, now BlackBerry. Huge contributor to Apache Cordova. He's almost paid full-time to do it. But he also does a lot of BlackBerry 10 work, and he's the man who actually implemented BlackBerry 10 support for BlackBerries, for Phonegap. So if you have any questions about Phonegap and BlackBerry, we're pretty good guys to ask. So to start with, let's clear up some confusion. It's spelled Apache Cordova, but it's pronounced Phonegap. It's a quote coined by one of the Apache Cordova Phonegap contributors, Simon McDonald from IBM. There's a lot of confusion around these two products. It's largely our fault. The best thing to think of is that Apache Cordova is source code. It's just a raw engine. In the browser world, you can think of WebKit as that. You never use WebKit. You can't go and download WebKit and use it. You use distributions of WebKit. You use Safari or you use Chrome, and they make use of WebKit. You can get nightly builds of WebKit, but it's actually embedded and ran inside a different distribution. And it's the exact same story for us. Apache Cordova is an engine that allows you to create cross-platform applications using web technologies. Phonegap is a distribution. We had to do this mostly because we wanted to donate Phonegap to Apache, the foundation. Phonegap is a trademark name that we didn't want it, so we had to rename it. And so Phonegap now just builds on top of Apache Cordova. But there are other distributions. Worklight is a popular one. They're here at this conference. Trigger.io is another one. And there's quite a few companies out there who are just taking Apache Cordova and building their own product. So there's certainly that option of it. Now on to assembling your dev environment. We could show you a lot of slides about this, but that would suck. We're not going to do that. You don't code in a slideshow, and neither will we. I'll pass it over to Gord. Gord's basically going to do a lot of live coding for you, followed up by Phil, who's also going to do a lot of live coding.
All right, so this could either go really well or really badly. So the first thing we basically are assuming you've all set up your WebWorks development environments for signing keys, for downloading the SDKs. Like, you have your devices, you have your simulators, you've kind of been working around with WebWorks. So we're going to not worry about that half. We're going to talk, okay, well, now that you have WebWorks, how do you get your environment set up for Phonegap? So the first thing you would do is go to like phonegap.com and download it. It's pretty easy. Download Phonegap. And I have that downloaded over here. So that would have downloaded to a zip file. You extract it. You get like basically a folder that looks somewhat like this. All it is like a zipped up of a Git archive. And inside that, you have inside the folder, you have some documentation for Phonegap, so all the API docs. And inside lib is all the platforms. So because we're caring right now about BlackBerry, we're just going to go into BlackBerry. And then the first thing you're going to do, there's some scripts in here for creating of a project, of a Cordova project. So we'll just run that right now. Bin create, and we just tell where we want to put it. So I'm just going to put it on my Apache server. I'll call it session. All right, so inside here, you can see that basically dump a bunch of files. The key to any WebWorks or any Cordova project is the www folder. So inside there is your app. And the rest of the stuff in here is just kind of build tools that we'll get to in a second. So the app itself is pretty simple. All it is an image, and you see this connecting to device is flashing. Ideally, I'll just use Ripple to show you what it will look like when we do deploy it on a device. So I'll just enable Ripple. You'll see that what we're looking for is that to switch this device is ready in flash green. Show you the code of the app. It's really not a whole lot of code. Essentially, the app the page calls initialize. Is that big enough for everyone? Well, I can go a little bigger. Calls this.bind events on initialize. Bind events basically adds a event listener for device ready. Device ready is a Cordova event that allows you to know that all the native bridge, all the APIs, everything is ready for you to start coding. So on that event, we call onDeviceReady, which we just call app received event. And this is the code here that just kind of like updates the style for the listening element to received. And that's what does that nice little switch to the green flashing. So not a complicated app. So let's actually get this on a real device. So the first thing you'll notice inside the folder is this project properties. Inside this is like all the configuration we need to build for each of the platforms. So you'll see paths to the BlackBerry BBWP, the Playbook BBWP, QNX, which is the BB10 one, and kind of just everything you need per platform. So if you only care about OS 7 and down, just kind of search for like any of these BlackBerry properties. If you care about deploying the Playbook, you just basically want to update anything that starts with Playbook. And then same QNX would be anything BB10. So the sake of time and the sake of you guys watching me type out my signing passwords, I'm just going to copy over a pre-staged one. So I've now filled in all that information. So let's just start. So the one thing you'll notice is like these XML files. We use Ant to, thank you, Desktop Manager. We use Ant to do all of our building. So if you just run Ant in the root of it, you'll get like a little help kind of telling you what you can do. So like the target. So most of the commands are Ant target command, where the target can be one of BlackBerry, Playbook, or QNX. And the commands are such as load device, load simulator, build, clean, clean device, clean simulator. So I just plugged in an OS 7 device here. So I'm just going to ant BlackBerry load device. And so it's just going to go through. It's basically all this is doing is calling BBWP, calling deploy device, reading in from that config file, all that stuff. So it does all the command line stuff for you. So I'll just kind of throw this over here for now while we just kind of watch. So hopefully this will start signing it.
So what's important to realize here is we're building on top of the WebWorks SDK. Phonegap is just built on top of it entirely. And while we have these Ant commands, the Ant commands are actually just calling the BlackBerry command line tools. So we're not doing anything special. All of this happens if you build just a regular WebWorks application too. We're just helping automate a lot of it. I imagine that's probably because of the signing server timing out.
Yeah, we don't have Wi-Fi.
Oh.
Tether.
I've got it. I don't know. What are you doing?
Well, that's because you're not demoing. That's what you have.
Demo gods.
All right. Oh, look at that. We're back on. I'm just going to cancel this. So we didn't pray enough to the demo gods, so let's just kill that. Let's try that again. Watch how easy that is.
Yeah, so the main benefit of this Ant script is that we're tying together the Java version of WebWorks, the QNX version of WebWorks, and the Air version of WebWorks under a single command. It's quite nice, really.
All right, everyone cross your fingers. This is going to happen. It has to happen.
Do we need to be online when?
Yeah, if you're deploying to an actual device, you will need to sign it.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's signing.
So that's the usual
Sign
story of building for BlackBerry applications. If you're deploying to a device and you've used any kind of API, basically anything, it's got to sign it.
Yeah.
Signing keys are now free, which is nice, but it does contact the server and say, hey, this person is using this particular API for this app. And the signing server will almost always say, that's cool.
If you're using the simulators, you will not need to sign it.
Yeah, so the intention is more or less so that when you do put it in the store, BlackBerry can keep track of who's trying to access what, and when you install the app for the first time, it'll prompt the user just saying, hey, just so you know, this app is going to be accessing your contacts. And it's a security feature, really.
So I would get you to switch to, so it did successfully build and deploy the app, and then it reset, which is awesome.
Usual BlackBerry story also.
Yeah, this is, if anyone says, yeah, developing for BlackBerry is annoying, they're usually thinking of this generation of devices. So while that slowly resets, I'm going to switch over to Playbook. So I'm just going to plug in the Playbook. He's going to start booting up.
So this is where you can start to see the benefit of using Phonegap, is that he's not going to change the source code at all. He's not even changing the way of building the project. He's going to run the same, very similar command.
I'm going to go ant playbook, load device.
So he simply substituted BlackBerry
so I
for
switched
Playbook.
targets right now.
And it's kind of going down a completely different build chain using a completely different SDK of WebWorks in the background.
So you can see this is using the Air signer. This is using the Air SDK that you had to do with Playbook. Starting signing tool. Signing failed. Oh, this is something you also notice. You'll see this code right here. Code signing request failed because this file has been previously signed. If any of you have worked with Playbook before, you know that they have this requirement as you send signing requests, the version has to be unique. And I always end up kind of hitting some as I'm building and deploying the device and over and regenerating through build scripts, somehow it always gets unsynced. I just kind of update that version. Okay, so that should sign now. Packaging bar file. Starting the signing tool. Wait for it.
If you're deploying to simulator, you won't have to sign it every time, which is a benefit of doing that.
All right, signing complete. Oh, yes. Oh, this is happening.
Yeah, sure, we'll take questions. Sure.
Yeah, of course, man.
So basically, I have been using WebWorks for BlackBerry and Cordova or Phonegap for other platforms. Mm-hmm. So after listening to you, I think the benefit of Phonegap is that instead of downloading 3 SDKs and updating and learning commands for deploying for all the SDKs. So if I do using Phonegap, so I have to learn only one set of commands and only change the target and it will do automatically.
Correct.
Yes.
So that is the benefit.
That said, it doesn't get around the requirement of having the proper SDK on your machine. So you still have to install tablet SDK, smartphone SDK, BlackBerry 10 SDK, but this one end file, these one commands that Mike showed, are your single entry point to
And
it.
do you give any other APIs besides WebWorks? For example, in Android, iOS, you require Phonegap APIs for many things.
Yeah,
but WebWorks generally gives a lot of things. So do you provide any other thing or is it
I'll get to that in a second once I get to the BB10 one. Just give you kind of context of what's actually happening here. So just quick that here's the old OS 7 device. You see the green flashing.
With the spinning clock?
Yeah, I'm done with that one, so it's over here. And here's the playbook. So we're good. So we got 2 running. So let's just switch over to, if you switch back to my laptop, and I'm just going to plug in my BB10 device. All right. So similar thing, and oh, thank you, BlackBerry desktop. Ant QNX load device. Similar idea. You're going to see a lot of warnings here. Those are fine because we just use single config XML. He's just warning that he's not finding the old feature IDs. So bar signed, bar packaging complete. All right, let's see what we got here. Wait for it. Progress 100 launching. All right, so if we switch back over to this guy, we'll have the awesome thing that isn't ready. Now this is kind of fun. I've experienced this a lot today, and it's actually a really good lead into a Hoisin bug. So one of the cool things we have with remote web inspectors, you can enable web inspector to really test it. So the one thing we have inside.
You may want to jump back to his laptop.
Yes, sorry, laptop.
Thank you.
So inside the platform, so QNX.xml, the build scripts for QNX. If you search for debug, you see that we have this debug default is false. I usually change that to true, and that's going to build it with web inspector enabled. So ant QNX load device. So run the same thing, this time with the -d if you're familiar to using the BBWP commands. That kind of goes through. If we kind of go switch back to the device, you can see him. He's going to reload here. I'm going to get rid of that because that's changing the. Okay, so there'll be a second. You'll see it refresh. So then I've enabled Web Inspector to figure out why that device ready didn't fire, but you'll notice I'm like, okay, cool, and oh, device ready is fired. I don't know why. It just does that every time I deploy to that guy. So, but that allows us to do remote web inspector stuff, which is really cool for development. So if you switch back to my laptop, so this is I just pointed at that IP. It told me port 1337. So this is the web inspector for that device. So I can, as you were saying before, I've used WebWorks, Cordova has APIs. So if you look at the navigator object, let's wake him up again. You can see all the familiar kind of Cordova APIs we add on it, such as Compass, contacts. So we've added our APIs on that you'll see in docs.phonegap.com. But all this, everything I've been doing on every single platform, you still have access to every API you're familiar with using WebWorks.
Yeah, this really drills in the point that Phonegap is built on top of WebWorks. You're not sacrificing anything. You can still create custom plugins. You still have access to everything that WebWorks offers. The benefit is that you packaged it for a Phonegap app. So you can quickly deploy it to multiple targets without much effort. And if you drop the usage of the BlackBerry object, you could port it to Android or iOS or Windows Phone 7.
It's also one of those, when you're developing a cross-platform app, if you ever do need access to something, this is the BlackBerry version, I'm going to add value-added features such as push notifications or integration with BBM. You can just do a check on BlackBerry. So go if BlackBerry and do your, oh, it fell asleep.
So it's got to be on.
Yeah, if it goes to sleep, it doesn't run the code.
Credit of the web inspector.
So you can do feature detection on that object to go, if I'm on BlackBerry, I know I can use the BBM APIs and do that share button rather than going to a standard thing. I can go to the BBM share or invoke one of the cards that you saw kind of done in the keynote. Now, anyone who's kind of done a lot of development on these, one of the main problems you have is the loading over and over on the device. Something that's kind of cool that I've always done as a little trick as I'm developing any Phonegap work is inside rather than pointing to the local www folder, I point it to my Apache server.
And this approach works with WebWorks, and it also generalizes and works really well with Phonegap in general. So it's for rapid development. It's really nice.
So really all that is for BlackBerry. everything has to be whitelisted, and they're kind of done through these access elements. So we kind of say access, and then I'm going to change that to HTTP colon. What is the IP of this guy? What am I? I am 169.254.0.2. So like you see that this is one. The network that creates a virtual network between my laptop and the device, where 1 is the device and 2 is the laptop. So from the device, you can access web content from your laptop. Makes it really easy. So I'm just going to whitelist everything to my device, or to my laptop, and then close the access. So you can see before all those features were just in the root of the config XML. I've just bundled them into an access element because that allows you to whitelist APIs per external content. So if you're navigating off to your own servers. So I'm just going to point that to my laptop, and I'm going to change the content source to 169.254.0.2. I'm going to change it to the other one. So if I rebuild this.
Uh-oh.
What have I done? No,
Oh, warnings.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Have faith. And then, so if we switch back to the guy, so he's just going to build. I'll zoom in on this. Okay, so this is the old one still loaded. It's still building. Packaging is completed, installing and launched. So you'll see it switch to the new one.
Drum roll.
Wait for it.
There we go.
Demo gods have been sort of nice to us. So launching. Oh, there it is. So Web Inspector is still enabled. I don't know if I can focus that, but so Web Inspector still enabled. But you'll notice that this app is actually the mobile spec. This is something we use for development on like Phonegap, the platform itself, and it's kind of cool. It gives you a lot of like ideas for how to use our APIs. It also does something. We have this automatic test that allows it just to run a suite of tests that we run per device, so we can see that if we have any regressions as we've upped our version. So this kind of runs everything, and we're expecting failures because there's certain APIs we haven't implemented on platform. So we just got the camera card API, and the SDK was released yesterday. So we haven't done camera. So any calls of camera are going to fail in this suite of tests. The same with contacts because we haven't wired that in. That was just added. So this is just kind of some alert on. Like,
some of those tests talk to test servers for serving files and stuff like that. We didn't whitelist that, so that was that.
But what's kind of cool is this suite of tests, this whole like setup now with this guy is running as a web page on my laptop. So I can edit the files on my laptop, use Remote Web Inspector to refresh the device, and it saves me from having to re-sign, redeploy every single time I make a change. It gives you that really faster development kind of experience.
Yeah, the takeaway from this is imagine replacing mobile spec, which he's hosting, with the application that you're developing. You can then sit down on your computer and you can open that app in your text editor, make a change, hit save, and reload the app on your phone. Nothing else. Don't have to rebuild and redeploy it on the phone. Just close it, reopen it, and your changes are there. So incredibly fast dev cycle.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where the state of Cordova is today. That's kind of the tooling for BlackBerry, just give you the really high-level walkthrough. So I'm just going to hand it over to Phil, and he's just going to talk about what we're doing tomorrow.
Yeah. So the tour of Ant files was great that Gord gave us, and I'm sure everyone's really excited about editing XML. But ideally,
yeah, there we are.
Yeah, just increase that font size for everyone.
I think I should go light theme? No, it's fine, right?
It looks good.
Okay, so
Can you crank it up a bit more?
a bit more, okay.
Yep.
There we go. So I'm working on a tool called Cordova Client, which I am working on GitHub at this URL. Hopefully everyone can see that. And this is basically a command line tool that is going to sit on top of essentially the same tools that Gord just showed, but also works across different platforms that Cordova supports. Currently, it works on iOS and Android. Just like an hour ago, we added BlackBerry 10 support to it, and we'll be slowly adding more. All it does, it's an abstraction, a set of command line tools, or just a single command line tool that abstracts away the differences between the different platform Cordova tools. So you don't have to learn the ant XML file and all of its little stuff. You don't have to learn the ins and outs of doing the same process on Cordova Android applications. All of that is handled by the tool. So go ahead and try to show that to you guys. Oh yeah, one more thing before I start actually diving in. It is also currently available on NPM. So if anyone is familiar with Node.js and NPM, you can just npm install -g Cordova today. I've been updating it a lot in the past couple weeks, and then use this tool through that. Currently, I'm going to be demoing it through this Incubator Labs. This is where I work with, so I'll be using this to demo. There's a Cordova command that you'll get access to, and you'll be able to create a cross-platform project. So this really helps developers answer the question, how do I work with one set of web assets for cross-platform hybrid application? So I'll tell it the directory that I want to work with. Let's go with test. So now if I go into that directory, list out its contents, the www folder, everyone who has been working with Phonegap or Cordova should be familiar with this, and it has all the stuff in there that you would expect. In this case, by default, it drops the Cordova application that we've been showing off today, the robot with the green flashing devices ready label. And this is where you would be working as a user working on your Phonegap or Cordova application. You'll be working in this directory. You don't have to worry about the native specifics. So you don't have to worry about what this tool does behind the scenes with WebWorks to get it on your BlackBerry, or what it does with the Android framework to get it on your Android phone. This tool hides all that stuff away, so all you're dealing with are your web assets. So what I'll do now is I'll call Cordova and tell it to add a platform. And I'm going to add Android. So now what it's doing is it's creating the native Android project in the background. Once this exits, we can actually go into that project, and you can edit those native bits if you so wish. But I think everyone who's interested in Cordova likes it for its cross-platform ease. So you shouldn't have to be able to do that. So now if we list out what we have under platforms, these are where the native projects exist. So under Android, you've got the Android manifest and all of the Android-specific stuff all in there. But you don't have to worry about that. Yes. Finally.
So basically what I showed in where you saw project.properties, all that stuff, that is the native bits. That's what goes in that platform folder.
Exactly. And there's a command that the npm Cordova tool has called build. And it will fire off the compilation for all added platforms that you've added to your project, as well as attempt to deploy it to any compatible devices that you have connected to your computer. In my case, I have an Android phone connected here. I didn't get a chance to get BlackBerry 10 signing keys today, so actually maybe that's something you could demo later. Mm-hmm. So now what will happen is it'll start compiling the Android application, deploy it to my phone, and then hopefully we'll be able to switch to it. And I don't want to unplug it while it's doing this. That's probably a bad idea. We also have an emulate command available, so if you want to fire up a simulator instead of an actual device, you can use that. It also has rudimentary Cordova plugin support. So if you're using third-party plugins for various different native-specific APIs that the stock Phonegap or Cordova APIs don't offer, then this allows you to add and remove plugins as well. And It's in rapid iteration. We've been working on this for about a month or two, so it's a fairly new tool, but we're constantly pushing new updates to NPM. So hopefully it'll get better and better. So now if we can switch it to the Elmo.
Where is he?
Yeah, let's just show it down here, and then swipe to the right. And there should be a Hello Cordova app.
Hello, Cordova. Oh, there it is.
There you go. Here, can you center that a little bit? Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
And there it goes. There it is.
Okay, and it's
Looks like it's not green, so I probably messed something up. The demo gods were not happy with me. But that essentially just shows the flow that this tool is supposed to offer you. So we didn't touch the Android tooling like ADB, which is the Android debug bridge, all those stuff. That is completely transparent to you. It shouldn't matter to you. So this is available on NPM. Please download it. Check out the GitHub profile, repository, and let me know if you find any issues with it or send feature requests, etc.
Yeah, so the idea is each platform kind of has its own like build scripts and ways of doing things. So the goal with Cordova Client is it's just like that. You just kind of Cordova creates a project for you. There's your www folder. All that crazy stuff that I was kind of showing you with project properties, SDKs, Ant, BlackBerry, blah. All of those are different per platform based on iOS, Android, WinPhone 7. We're going to hide that all from you. So it's just a matter of going Cordova add platform BlackBerry, Cordova add platform iOS, Cordova add platform Android, and then Cordova emulate, and it'll build for all those platforms. And it just hides all the cross-platform stuff from you. So if we switch back to the laptop. So lastly, just a few resources before we kind of open it up for questions. So as I said before, Phonegap.com is the kind of go-to place. That's where you'll be able to download all the Cordova stuff. Also, if you go to emulate.phonegap.com, that is for Ripple. That we kind of did this cool little like microsite for Ripple and Phonegap. Allows you to, it'll do a lot of checks to like figure out where to download it from, if you're ready, if you have the right version of Chrome. It actually works on all versions of Chrome. Debug.phonegap.com is a really awesome tool called, if you've heard of Winery, it's basically like a remote web inspector for devices that don't have remote web inspector. So if you're developing on Android, for example, Android doesn't have the remote web inspector enabled, so you can use Winery and debug.phonegap.com to make a almost full-featured web inspector for developing on Android. Docs.phonegap.com is all the documentation on all the APIs for the cross-platform bits. Cordova.io, as we said before, it's spelled Cordova but pronounced Phonegap. So Cordova is the place for all of the open source development. So on there you can find mailing lists, links to source repos, and just get a good feel for how we make it. You can subscribe to a bunch of our mailing lists. The developer mailing list is very active, and you can kind of get a good pulse of what's coming into Phonegap like as it goes. Lastly, there's a command to get the Cordova client. I highly recommend this trying it. It's pretty awesome. It's going to be updated a lot. Like I think Phil releases every hour. So that's kind of the resources. So if lastly, just going to say like thanks to everyone. So there's our Twitter handles again. We're pretty accessible via Twitter. So just like mention us, and we'll get back to you real quick. Lastly, there's this slide deck is hosted on my GitHub pages. So there's just a link there if you want all the wealth of information we presented on the slides. If anything, it gives you this slide, because that's the only one I don't, but it is a really cute cat. Yeah, so basically if you have any questions, we're pretty much the people to ask if you have any questions about Phonegap. I'll be available after this session for a long time. I'll just be hanging out in the social lounge, just coding away. So if you do have any questions that are more in-depth, but that you're just asking on the mic, come there, and I can probably help set your up environment, basically what I did here, and get you up and running. But we'd like to say thank you once more and open the floor up for some questions.
Yeah, I believe we have about 7 minutes to take questions.
We got a bunch
You
of
can
time.
stand up at the, beyond 7 minutes?
Yeah, I think so.
7. You can stand up and ask a question at the podium, or you can just ask and I'll just repeat your question. We also have a little bit of Phonegap swag. There's a few stickers and buttons and stuff, so feel free to grab them on your way out. If you hunt me down in the next few days, I have a couple t-shirts, but they're probably going to go fast, so just find me at some point. Questions, please? Yeah?
If you could just please walk up to the mic there, just so it's clear.
How is the performance if you mix like native lists, then invoke like a Phonegap web browser? Is it fast enough to do that, or is everything just better handled in Phonegap only?
Do you mean embedding a native list inside of a Phonegap web view or something else?
Like, say, I only know iOS, so I got a table view. And then I tap on something and I want to open it up in a Phonegap.
I think like performance-wise, it's fine. The big thing that you'll hit is latency. You know, web pages do take a while to load, so you have to be creative with how you're displaying a spinner. If you can preload that information, all the better. It is worth mentioning that while we always talk about building Phonegap applications, you can embed Phonegap inside of your own project. So if you have your iOS project or Android project, BlackBerry it's a little more difficult, but the other two are more common, where you can create a native project and you can pop open this browser just to do certain bits as WebView. You know, the App Store on the iOS device is a good example where the majority of it is actually a website. It's hybrid, but yeah, performance it's okay. You know, native's always faster, just if you want to like come to a strong conclusion, but the web is certainly much easier and faster to develop on, and every day it seems to be getting just faster in speed. Yep.
So I'm developing a framework using HTML5.
Cool.
And I want to use Phonegap as a base for obviously packaging as a native.
Nice.
So can you guide, like, if I have, like, currently we are doing everything manually, like we use our JavaScript file to build the full application or game. And then obviously we package based on what Phonegap is saying for every platform manually. So like you showed this open source project.
Yeah,
so if I want to integrate this or like some other way, so I want to integrate to make it easy so that user has to just fill code based on our framework, and we say that if you download our framework, obviously we are based on Phonegap, so Phonegap is intrinsically built in it. So can you suggest, like, is it possible, and like what should our approach be?
I would say another approach, just for ease of users, is to make use of Phonegap Build. It has an API. It's now out of beta, so there's a free version. Free if you have an open source project, as many projects as you want. I think it's $9 a month for private repos. You do get one private repo with a free account. But the important thing is it has a great API to work from. And users don't have to have any SDKs installed locally. So you can ship your framework and offer a command to build the binary. And it would then just ask them for their build credentials, ask Phonegap Build to give you the binary, and you would get it back. So it would be a slimmer framework on your side.
So basically, like, you are providing a web service.
Yeah, we've just configured servers in the cloud with all the SDKs, and we do all the crunching and then just give you the result.
Maybe we can create a small editor and user just fill in the details, and it is linked to your cloud service.
Definitely. Yeah. There's been other projects that have started to integrate.
So $9 is for one repository.
So it's free for unlimited open source and one private repository. And you can switch that private repository at any point, delete your current one and put a new app in there. More than one private repository, you pay $9 a month. But then you can go up to the unlimited private resource.
So for any number of apps, just $9 per month.
Yep, free if you have open source apps though. If you're hosting on GitHub, completely free.
So so the repository is in GitHub and you are linked to GitHub.
That's right, yeah. It'll pull your ideally
code.
what you're doing is you're just keeping your web assets on GitHub, your application
It's
assets
generally
in the inside of the
put in
www folder, basically. Then the service will pull that out from GitHub, compile whatever platforms you want with that as your application, and then send you back the binary. For iOS, you'll need to submit your signing certificate, provisioning.
Yeah, you can't
whatever.
get around all of that. So you
iOS
have to
is a
git
little bit
build your
difficult
signing.
in terms of those
Yeah.
provisioning profiles and all
You
that.
can also upload your BlackBerry signing keys, and
Yep.
then it will sign your app for you as well in the cloud. So you don't have
And
to do
versioning,
that.
etc., everything it will do automatically.
Collaborators, you have unlimited collaborators, yeah. So you can add people to your projects.
No,
You
the
can,
versioning, like he was like getting stuck. Every time, like in Android also, you have to increase the version in iOS. So those versioning kind of things automatically.
That's
all
all
that
handled,
kind of
yeah.
stuff is handled up by
Yeah.
build. Yeah.
Essentially, what the tools that I demoed earlier with the command line interface for creating projects and adding platforms and compiling them out, that we're taking the lessons that the build service learned on how to do all that stuff and then bringing it to the command line for you.
Okay, thank you.
Slowly, anyways. Any
Cool.
other questions?
If there's other questions, that's great. If not, as Gord emphasized, if you guys are having problems just setting up your own computer to do some building, hit us up. We'll help you out for sure.
Definitely.
So thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you guys.